Hello everyone. Today we will talk about functionality and architecture in the 1930s. The concept of functionality became widespread in the mid 1930s, but leading architects of the time interpreted it in different ways. Le Corbusier and Walter Gropius criticized reducing functionality to mechanical determinism, while figures like Siegfried Gieden and Alberto Sartoris approached it with a narrow rationalist perspective.
Modernist architecture contained artistic and symbolic meanings that couldn't be explained solely by functionality. However, in the 1930s, this dimension was increasingly overlooked. This was due to factors such as the latecomers to the moment, lacking an aesthetic vision, and the defense of the international style under political and economic pressures. The most intriguing example of this is Mies van der Rohe's Barcelona Pavilion. The structure serves more as a cultural and artistic manifest than a purely functional building. Its use of materials, spatial continuity, and naturalistic sculpture elements demonstrate that modernism cannot be explained solely throughout logic and economy. In conclusion, although modern architecture became overly rationalized and distant from symbolic meanings over time, buildings like the Barcelona Pavilion prove that architecture should be shaped not only by functionality, but also by artistic and cultural values.
Vitruvius' principles of solidity, functionality, and aesthetic have been fundamental to architecture. However, Venturi argues that architecture can derive strength from ambiguity and multi-layered meanings. Just like in Eliot's poetry, a building should be open to multiple interpretations. Modernism emphasizes simplicity and functionality, but Venturi and some other architects argue that this approach ignores contradictions of the real world. For example, Doric temples may appear simple, but contain inherent complexity. Villa Savoye, it looks like a simple square from a distance, but features a complex geometry. Bernie's Palazzo di Propaganda fact, its pilasters sometimes appear as independent columns, sometimes as part of the facade. Luigi Morton's apartments, are they a single answer depends on perspective. This example shows how architecture gains richness through layered experience. Joseph Albert's color theory, the mismatch between perception and reality also affects form and space in architecture. Shakespeare's works, they offer multiple layers of meaning, just like complex architecture structures. Kenneth Burke's planning incongruity concept, international contradictions shape user perception. According to Venturi, architecture should embrace a contradiction and use multi-layered meanings as a design tool. Modernism seeks clarity, but the real world is full of contradiction. Architecture should integrate not only functionality, but also perception and art. True simplicity doesn't stem from superficial minimalism, but from deliberate complexity. Instead of less is more, we might say more is not less, suggesting that contractions can be a creative force in architecture. Architecture should embrace construction rather than pursue absolute clarity, creating multi-layered meanings and experiences, as Venturi suggests. Expecting complexity and construction makes architecture richer and more meaningful.
In architecture, opposite elements can exist at the same time. Buildings don't have to be limited to one meaning or function. They can have different and even conflicting qualities. These contrasts add layers and depth to the building design and structure. In modern architecture, people often expect everything to be clear, either one thing or the other. But more complex buildings accept contradictions and combine both sides. These contradictions can make a building harder to understand, but this challenge makes the space feel richer and more meaningful. Sometimes architects make these contradictory choices on purpose. A design mistake in a part might be intentional to create balance in the whole structure. Baroque and neo-Baroque buildings also show both central and directional space. Time and moment also play a role in architecture. As people move inside or around a building, their perception of space changes. This shows that space isn't fixed but offers a changing experience over time. In conclusion, contradictions in architecture aren't accident. They are thoughtful design decisions that make a building more complex and layered. The both-end approach makes a structure not only physically but also symbolically and emotionally richer.
The Industrial Revolution radically changed modern architecture in terms of materials, production techniques, and design approach. Industrial products such as steel, concrete, and glass offered new structural and aesthetic possibilities in architecture. According to Banham, modernists use these materials not only structurally but also symbolically. For example, Mies van der Rohe's Barcelona pavilion emphasized the material aesthetics of the modern age rather than functionality. Industrial production brought functionality to the forefront in architecture, and the principle of form follows function was adopted. However, Banham says that this approach sometimes turned into a rigid function. Venturi, on the other hand, argues that modernists did not adequately reflect the complexity of the industrial age. For example, although Le Corbusier's Villa Savoye seems functional, it actually offered a multi-layered spatial experience. While industry was constantly developing, modernist architecture tried to establish certain norms. Banham states that engineers such as Buckminster Fuller integrate technology directly into the structure, but architects could not fully utilize the opportunities offered by industry. Venturi also says that the modernists did not fully progress the contradictions and uncertainties brought about by the industrial age in architecture. Banham sees modern cities shaped by the Industrial Revolution as a place that failed to fully integrate the true potential of technology. While industrialization brought new materials and construction methods, modernist architects often misunderstood or misrepresented these advancements. Instead of creating cities that truly embrace industrial efficiency and technological innovation, they focused on aesthetic symbolism. He argues that the international style, which dominated many modern cities, was more about a visual representation than actual technological progress. Furthermore, he criticized how modernist planning often overlooked the real dynamics of industrial and economic change, leading to urban environments that were visually modern but not necessarily functional or adaptable to technological advancements.
Venturi advances architecture that embrace complexity and contradictions rather than the rigid simplicity of modernism. He critiques the modernist approach for oversimplifying architectural form and ignoring the richness of historical and textural influences. Instead of purity and minimalism, he promotes deeply ambiguous and layered design that reflected the complexity of contemporary life. Banham highlights both the benefits of limitation and technological advances in architecture. On the positive side, technology enables new material structural efficiency and innovative spatial solutions. However, he critiques how modern architecture often misinterprets technology using classically rather than fully integrating its potential. He contrasts with visionaries like Buckminster Fuller, who embraced continuous evolution with modernists who saw static norms, making architecture less adaptable to future advancements.